the high-stakes world of music production, is known as the ultimate gatekeeper, a man whose single nod can create a superstar and whose dismissal can end a career before it begins. But in 2012, one teenager did the unthinkable. He forced the industry titan to publicly admit he was wrong. The narrative of reality television is often scripted, edited, and manipulated to create heroes and villains. But occasionally, a moment of raw, unadulterated humanity breaks through the noise. The 2012 season of Britain's Got Talent provided one such moment that has since become a case study in industry prejudice and artistic integrity. When Jonathan walked onto the stage, the collective judgment of the panel and the audience was palpable. He did not fit the manufactured image of a pop idol. He was a teenager grappling with severe self-esteem issues, hidden beneath a baggy hoodie. A man who has built an empire on identifying marketable talent instantly was visibly dismissive. Yet, what followed was not just a vocal performance that expectations, but a psychological standoff between a media mogul accustomed to absolute control and a young man who prioritized loyalty over fame. This investigation explores that specific audition, the ruthless business offer that followed, and the decade-long journey of transformation that proved Jonathan was never just another contestant. He was a lesson the music industry needed to learn. To truly understand the weight of Jonathan's voice, we must first examine the silence that preceded it, a silence born from a harrowing history of systematic mistreatment within the school system that nearly led to a tragic, permanent conclusion. Investigative reports into Jonathan's life prior to his television debut reveal a disturbing pattern of institutional failure regarding student welfare. Before he became a household name, Jonathan was a student at West Hatch High School in Essex. However, his time there was marred by relentless and targeted bullying focused on his weight and appearance. Sources close to the family have indicated that this was not merely schoolyard teasing, but a sustained campaign of psychological harassment that eroded his sense of self-worth. The trauma was so severe that it precipitated a mental health crisis, forcing Jonathan to withdraw from the education system entirely. For months, he retreated into the safety of his home, rarely leaving his bedroom, a period he has since described in interviews as inhabiting the darkest of places. While broadcast guidelines prevent us from detailing the specific nature of his internal battles, it is a matter of public record that Jonathan was navigating thoughts of a catastrophic nature. He was a young man pushed to the brink, using music as his only tether to the world. This context is essential because it reframes his audition entirely. When he eventually stepped onto the Britain's Got Talent stage, he wasn't just nervous about a song. He was a survivor stepping back into a society that had previously rejected him. The trembling we saw on camera was the physical manifestation of years of conditioning that told him he did not belong, making his subsequent triumph all the more profound. The archival footage of the 2012 audition serves as a damning indictment of the entertainment industry's superficiality. Capturing the exact moment prejudice clouded the judgment of the world's most famous talent scout. Upon reviewing the raw tape of the audition, the immediate bias in the room is undeniable. As Jonathan walked onto the stage alongside his singing partner, Charlotte, the visual contrast to the standard, polished contestant was stark. Clad in a loose t-shirt and ill-fitting sweatpants, Jonathan's appearance triggered an instant negative reaction from the panel. The camera cuts are deliberate. They show leaning back in his chair, exhaling sharply and whispering to fellow judge with a look of resigned skepticism. The audience, taking cues from the judges, can be heard snickering. This phenomenon, often referred to in media studies as the Susan effect, highlights how quickly value is assigned based on aesthetics rather than ability. However, the narrative arc shifted violently the moment the backing track for The Prayer began. Audio analysis of the performance confirms that Jonathan's vocal delivery was not merely good for an amateur, it was technically flawless, possessing a tenor richness usually developed over decades of conservatory training. The transformation in the room was physical. The collective mockery evaporated, replaced by a stunned silence that eventually erupted into a thunderous standing ovation. Yet the true drama was not the song itself, but the immediate business calculation that formed in its mind before the applause had even died down. What transpired next was a classic display of industry ruthlessness, as attempted to execute a divide-and-conquer strategy that would have destroyed a friendship to manufacture a solo superstar. Following the performance, the feedback took a sharp and calculated turn. While the other judges offered praise, focused on what he perceived as the commercial liability. In a move that industry insiders describe as typical for high-stakes talent management, publicly proposed that Jonathan ditch Charlotte. His exact words were, "Jonathan, you are a huge star," followed by the implication that Charlotte would only act as an anchor, holding back his potential career. We must analyze the sheer pressure of this moment. This was not a private meeting in a boardroom. This was a televised ultimatum delivered to a fragile 17-year-old boy in front of millions of viewers. The proposition was clear: betray the person who gave you the confidence to sing, and I will give you fame and fortune. From a cold business perspective, was looking at the bottom line. Solo acts are historically easier to market and manage than duos with a perceived skill gap. Was essentially handing Jonathan a winning lottery ticket, but the price of admission was his integrity. Most contestants in the history of the Got Talent franchise would have accepted this offer without hesitation, driven by the desperation for success. The tension in the theater was palpable, as the audience waited to see if the boy who had been bullied his whole life would become the bully to save his own career. In a twist that every convention of reality television, Jonathan's response to the industry titan wasn't submission. It was a defiant defense of loyalty that forced a public retraction from himself. Jonathan's reaction to the ultimatum remains one of the most significant moments in the show's history. Without consulting his parents or pausing for dramatic effect, he immediately rejected the premise of his offer. His statement, "We came here as a duo, we're gonna stay here as a duo," was delivered with a quiet firmness that contradicted his anxious demeanor. This was a critical juncture. By refusing to abandon Charlotte, Jonathan signaled that his personal values and loyalty outweighed the promise of commercial success. This decision could have cost him his spot in the competition, a risk few would take, yet it had the opposite effect. It endeared him to the British public, who saw a level of integrity rarely displayed on such programs. The narrative arc concluded in the semifinals, where the duo performed again. The chemistry and improvement were so undeniable that was forced to issue a rare on-air apology. He admitted, "I have to apologize to you. Sticking with Charlotte was the best decision you could have made." This moment of vindication is significant because it proved that an artist could succeed on their own terms. Jonathan had forced the industry to bend to him, rather than bending to the industry. However, while this seemed like a happily ever after for the duo, the realities of the music business are complex, and subsequent reports reveal that the story of their partnership was far from over. Despite the victory of loyalty in 2012, critics resurfaced 2 years later when the duo announced their separation, claiming this was proof that had been right all along. But a closer look at the contracts reveals a different story. In 2014, the news broke that Jonathan and Charlotte were officially parting ways to pursue solo careers. This announcement immediately triggered a wave of "I told you so" commentary from industry skeptics and tabloids who believed the split validated its initial assessment. However, investigative context is required here to correct the record. The split was not acrimonious, nor was it a result of failure. The duo had already released 2 highly successful albums, Together and Perhaps Love, both of which achieved gold certification. The decision to split was reported as mutual and amicable, stemming from a desire to explore different creative directions. Jonathan toward classical opera and Charlotte toward musical theater, rather than a lack of success. Music, the label managing them, recognized that both artists had matured enough to stand alone. This distinction is crucial, wanted to split them up before they had even started, which would have been a ruthless business cut leaving Charlotte behind. Jonathan waited until they had achieved success together, ensuring that Charlotte also had a platform and a career before they moved on. Therefore, the split did not prove right. It proved that Jonathan's timing was superior. He navigated the industry with a moral compass that ensured both parties were protected. This nuance is often lost in the headlines, but it serves as a testament to Jonathan's foresight. While the tabloids focused on his music and his weight, Jonathan was privately grappling with a neurological reality that went undiagnosed for decades, finally coming to light in 2022. For years, media outlets and fans speculated about Jonathan's unique mannerisms, his intense privacy, and the visible discomfort he sometimes displayed during interviews and red carpet events. It wasn't until 2022, at the age of 27, that Jonathan publicly revealed he had received a formal diagnosis of autism. In a candid update to his followers, he described this diagnosis not as a burden, but as a profound relief, a moment that recontextualized his entire life experience. This revelation provided a new lens through which to view his 2012 audition. The sensory overload of the loud audience, the bright studio lights, and the intense scrutiny of the judges would have been exponentially more difficult for someone on the spectrum. It also explains his deep attachment to Charlotte. She wasn't just a singing partner, she was a safe person who helped ground him in a chaotic environment. The diagnosis highlighted that his refusal to split from her was likely a necessary coping mechanism as much as a moral stance. Understanding this neurodivergence adds a layer of heroism to his journey. He was navigating a high-stimulus industry that is notoriously unfriendly to neurodivergent individuals, all while undiagnosed and without the proper support tools. This new understanding of himself coincided with another massive lifestyle overhaul that would leave him virtually unrecognizable to his original. Recent footage of the tenor reveals a physical metamorphosis so drastic that it has dominated headlines, signaling that Jonathan has finally taken full control of his health and his future. If you were to look at a side-by-side comparison of Jonathan from 2012 and the man performing today, you would be forgiven for thinking they were two different people. Reports confirm that in recent years, Jonathan has committed to a rigorous health regime that has resulted in the loss of approximately 5 stone, or 70 pounds. Unlike many celebrity transformations driven by vanity or surgery, Jonathan has been vocal that this change was driven by discipline and mental health management. He credits walking 10,000 steps a day and a complete overhaul of his diet as the key factors. This physical glow-up is symbolic of his internal shift. He has moved from the broken teenager who felt he had no future to a chart-topping solo artist who commands the stage with confidence. Currently, Jonathan is a force in the classical crossover genre, regularly hitting the #1 spot on the charts and recording at prestigious locations like Abbey Road Studios. He toured globally, not as a reality TV novelty, but as a respected tenor. His journey from a bullied student in a hoodie to a health-conscious, self-aware superstar serves as the ultimate rebuttal to the early judgments placed upon him. He didn't just survive the industry, he outlasted the critics. Ultimately, the story of Jonathan is not just about a voice that surprised the world, but about the triumph of human integrity over corporate ruthlessness. Jonathan didn't just win a spot in a talent show. He won a moral victory that is still discussed over a decade later. He demonstrated that it is possible to navigate the cutthroat waters of the music industry without sacrificing one's character. Looked at a book cover and saw a risk. The world opened the book and found a hero. And considering Jonathan is now living his best life, healthy, successful, and surrounded by that respects him for the person he is, it is safe to report that in the long game of life, he won that argument forever. He serves as a permanent reminder to the industry. Talent is universal, but character is what creates a legend.